The South today is endeavouring chat with the incoming government ministers and new members of Parliament in the coming months. We begin this evening with incoming Health Minister David Clark. Good evening, Minister.
Good evening, Melissa.
How's it going?
Good, yeah, early days, first week in my new office and settling in, but there's lots of challenges ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we've got a few questions for you tonight, and we thank you very much for coming in. And one of the first ones we've got to ask is, you've been quite outspoken with former ministers and you've probably attacked them without mercy, so what are you going to do differently from previous health ministers?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm in the fortunate position as a health minister of coming in with a commitment from my government to increase spending in the area of health, to actually resource healthcare properly and to address cost pressures in the future. We have said that the national government underfunded health, and we think by about $2.3 billion over most of its term. And so we've said we'll put that money back in over time, as well as meeting the cost pressures in the future. Now that's a big commitment, and our challenge will be to make sure that money is really well spent. Yeah,
definitely something that I know lots of people in Dunedin are really quite upset about what's been happening with Dunedin Hospital. So one of the promises you had made was like working with Dunedin Hospital. So on the campaign trail, you've made many promises to do with health. Again, how easy do you think it's going to be to keep them?
With Dunedin Hospital, we've said straight out no PPP. And it's the delays I've been most concerned about. I first asked Tony Ryle about these issues in 2014. I was already concerned about delays in 2014. And PPPs actually take a lot longer to put together. So not only is there the risks that go with them about landing an albatross around your neck for the rest of your life or the life of the building, but also the planning stages cause further delays. So by putting that to one side, we're already saving time. No mistake, it is ambitious to say that we want to get on with it straight away. We want to start the rebuild in our first term. But I make no apology for that. Dunedin people have waited a long time for this hospital. It's the last hospital in New Zealand to have its rebuild in a major centre. And so we're committed to getting on with it. We've said Central City, no PPP, and we just want to get on with it urgently.
Fantastic. Okay, and another question is, and it relates to DHBs, that this week you've speculated about sacking every DHB chairperson. Is this kind of thing still on the cards? I
did one interview on this topic where I was asked a number of questions, and certainly that has sent a lot of tongues wagging. Look, I'm going to take advice. I want to be assured that all of the board chairs are supportive of our direction. It is different to the last government's direction. We want to make sure that there's a real focus on primary care and prevention, and also on mental health. These are our commitments, and we need to know that those board chairs who've been taking the sector in another direction are actually convinced that we've got the right way of going about things. Now, it's about relationships in the health sector. Everybody that I know that works in health wants the best for the public patient, and I'm sure those chairs do too, but I want to be careful to make sure that they're on the same path, because there's no point in us pulling in different directions. Some of them may say it's their time to move on, but I suspect the majority have really useful skills and have been doing a good job in really tight circumstances, so I expect the majority will want to stay on.
So you're giving them a change in direction. So the last question is, would you look kindly on the idea of a financial rescue package for the Southern District Health Board?
Look, I need to look and get advice on the detail of all of those things. What I have said is that I think we need to have a broad review of the population-based funding model. Annette King introduced it in the early 2000s, and it has not had a proper review since. And I've spoken with Annette about this directly. She says, why wouldn't you review it after all of that time? To make sure it's actually doing what we want it to do, to make sure that the funding is fairly distributed. And I think that's the first commitment I think that we need to put in train, so that we can make sure that we have got sufficient money going to each DHB, because there are certainly some questions about the way in which Southern is funded that I want to get answers to.
Fantastic. Look, thank you very much for your time tonight, Health Minister David Clark.
Thanks, Melissa.
We really appreciate you coming in.